I'm Jon Loomer of Jon Loomer Digital. I'm focused on advanced meta ads education, have been for the last 12 plus years. Funny thing about business and goals and personal achievements, like everything is kind of tied together. A lot of the things I do with business, similar to like, for example, I have a goal for running. I never ran 8 years ago. The only reason I ran this year is because I had an annual goal and I ran 1,200 miles this year, which required me to run almost every day, which would have been ridiculous to even think about 10 years ago.
1,200 miles? That's 3
Yeah.
miles a day, man. What was the goal? Like, tell me the goal. What was the goal?
So, so yeah, it started out the first year. You probably don't remember this. It was this weird thing. Mark Zuckerberg was like, "I'm going to run 365 miles this year." Run
Oh,
it.
yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
It was like a New Year's resolution kind of thing.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that too. And that ended up being I ended up doing 400 miles instead. So then every single year, I added another 100 miles to it. So this year I was actually supposed to do 1,100. And then like over the last 3 or 4 months, I'm like, you know what? 1,200 is like this super cool round number. It's 100 miles a month. And like, I don't think I want to increase it again next year. Like, I think I actually want to balance it out with walking.
Yeah.
So I think next year I actually just want to run 600 miles. Let's get to 1,200. So basically, I've got this whole spreadsheet that tells me like what I need to average, per day, and if I'm ahead of pace, if I'm behind pace, whatever. So like there was a stretch where some months I would run like 150 to 180 miles. Like it's like 180. I would run 6 miles every single day, and it was insane. But part of it was because I learned from the past where I would get behind,
Ah.
and then like the second half I'd have to scramble and just run a whole bunch. So I was like, let's just flip this around so I don't feel like I'm out of control trying to catch this thing where I'm in control but still running insane amounts in the beginning, and then I can coast. It's like right now I've already hit my goal, so I'm not even running the last couple of weeks.
That's so interesting because for me, I walk and run and exercise for health,
Mhm.
but I can totally see. So I just for funsies here, I put it in how many, 3.1 is a 5K. So that's
Right.
1131.5. But I'll tell you what, I like 1,200 better because to your point, that's 100 a month. And then we have those in the bank. But doesn't that defeat the purpose though of running? Like, isn't running supposed to be like a habit that we do? Or are you running for pleasure, or are you running just because you're a sadist? I mean, what's the deal here, John?
Well, truthfully, like I think that's when I about turned 40.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, not to get, talking about death, but like seeing friends, people I grew up with dying at that age. And like I've got kids. I want to see them grow up. I want to see my grandkids and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things like I wasn't really doing a lot to be healthy. Uh
Ah,
and I wanted to get healthy. And the only way I could really, make that part of a routine is if there was a full on commitment. It's anything like you talk about business, you talk about short form video and blogging. Like you can't just say, okay, I'm going to start doing this thing. And you do it every once in a while. Like you can't do that with running. You can't do it with any of those things. Like it's almost got to be an insane amount, an insane commitment, where it's like you're obsessed with it, at least in my mind, in
yeah.
order to like really truly, benefit from it too. So because like I said, I really struggled those first few years doing it. Honestly, like the first 5 years or so, because I would always like see the first half as like, I'll get those miles eventually and I'll reach that goal. And then I would take like an entire month or two off and then, struggle in the rest of the way. But so there's just a lot of lessons in that. But so really is all about being healthy and kind of like what you're saying, like I don't have to run 1,200 miles. So I'm kind of realizing that too, and also like I've never really enjoyed running. It's really about the
Mhm.
accomplishment for me more than anything. I also, I like the fact that I'm 48 years old and I run a pretty decent, mile time, but I can also run 600 miles and walk on those other days, which is kind of what I'm hoping for. Cause that's honestly so relaxing
Yeah.
and to walk and like I come up with ideas. Like I want to start doing more of that.
That makes sense. So yeah, so you talked about short form video in there, and I'm gonna move into that. But first, I just want to say I'm gonna rename this episode "Get Insanely Committed with Jon Loomer" because really, I mean, you do that in all you do, from my observation, right? From the outside, you're not kind of committed, you're in. Like you're
Yeah.
in, like this year, you did short form video. That was your commitment, one a day. But I also love that you bank some. So talk to me about that. I mean, did you bank them like early in the year and then slow down? Or did you say, okay,
No.
it's December now and I'm just gonna bank? I mean, or did you do actually one a day or one a week to make this happen, John?
So I wouldn't say it's so much banking, right? So it's not like I have this inventory of a
No,
hundred
no, right.
videos,
Yeah.
but what I don't do. So I think this is it's a good point. It's a matter of framing how you do this, right? So it sounds overwhelming if you say I am going to record one video every day because you're like I'm there are some days I don't want to record a video or I don't have time. We're going to be on the road. We're on vacation. It's going to be Christmas Day. I'm not going to record a video on Christmas. So so it's a matter of shifting the focus from I'm going to record a video every day to I'm going to publish a video every day.
Ah,
So right now I am banked through next Wednesday. I'm hoping to record and schedule another 3 to 5 today on Friday so that I don't have to worry about it for pretty much all next week. So to me, it's that goal of publishing a video every day, not recording, but publishing one every day that keeps me motivated because like I don't feel like I really have a choice. And so, like heading into the weekend, as an example, I don't want to be recording and editing a video over the weekend. So I am motivated on Thursday and Friday to get some of those videos done so I don't have to.
there you go. I love that. That's great. So, yeah, getting committed, breaking it down, and then what's the why? You mentioned the accomplishment in there. That's right there. I get that, right? But what was the goal with the video?
Uh,
And with that, let me share here. We got Justin JD here who says, for that reason, when the mood strikes, records a ton of content and having a standby when I don't feel creative. Okay, so that's it, or I don't want to. So, John, what was the goal though? What was your? I like to set smarter goals. So the E stands for excited. What
yeah,
am I excited about? What excited you about this goal?
it's weird. It's it's almost less excited and more desperate, right? So, look, my business has been around for more than 12 years now,
Yep.
or the birth of my website, basically more than 12 years now. And everything, it started with an obsession then with just writing, but not really having any particular goal. Like I just wrote every day. I didn't have a job and I was hoping that would help me get a job. And I ended up being able to monetize it. But my business ended up kind of exploding, after about that year to heights I never dreamed of, honestly, and did really, really well. I would say the breaking point for me was probably COVID, right? That was the last time I did any public speaking. Um, but also it's just this point. My business is probably going to start to decline around that point anyway, but it accelerated it. I didn't want to sell. So there was also this like kind of like mental, emotional side of it. I didn't want to sell to people when I'm hearing everyone suffering, losing their jobs, their businesses are decline, whatever. I'm supposed to sell to them. Like I don't really like selling anyway. So business started to suffer that year. It continued that trend through 2001, 21, and 22. I was also a baseball coach for 16 years. And so that was taking a lot of my time and energy and everything. But it's funny because my last year coaching was the summer of 2022. My youngest son was 14 and he was about to go to high school, and that would be it. That ended up being the perfect time because it's like I have to turn things around because otherwise, a year from now, I may not have a business. And so for me, it was like I've been doing a lot of the same things for years and following the same template because I didn't know how to start a business. Like when I created it, I wasn't thinking I want to create a business that sustains for 10, 20 years. I was like, I just want to have something that I don't have to get a job. And I didn't. And that was awesome. And I think I got complacent and assumed it would just last forever if I kept doing things the same way. And one of the main things that I wasn't doing that was kind of shifting the way people consumed was short form video. And I had Luke on my team who kept pushing me to do it. I hate doing video. I really do. Like any kind of video, and I did, especially then. Any type of video I would do would be like a screen recording where you wouldn't see my face, right? Just because like I don't want to have to worry about it. Like, what am I wearing? What's my lighting? What's all that kind of stuff? Like, just I want to teach something. That's it. And so short form, and I was like probably a lot of people where I just assumed TikTok was like this thing for younger people. There's a bunch of dancing and silliness and whatever, right? Pointing at words and stuff.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But it came to this point where it's put up or shut. Like what I'm doing isn't working. So if I'm going to do video though, I can't just create a couple of videos. Like I have to get good at this. So it was September 30th of 2022 that I really kind of zero in on is like the time when I committed to it. I created a video that started with, this is going to suck and that's okay. And that was pretty much my entire, that lifted so much pressure. I feel like when you embrace it like that, like so much of us don't create a video or a podcast or whatever because we're afraid it's going to suck. It's going to suck. Like the first, I don't know how many are going to suck. And you just have to accept that. And also probably nobody's going to watch it anyway. And the people who do are probably going to be supportive of you and appreciate it. So it was kind of an acceptance that it's going to suck. I'm not going to be able to create good videos without first creating a whole bunch of bad ones and ones that make me cringe or whatever. And it's all part of the process. So that first month of October 2022 was painful. I created 70 videos that each of them probably took 2 hours. So it was basically my entire day was dedicated to this, just figuring it out. So the why is a very long way of answering your question. Like I had to turn around my business. This is the thing I wasn't doing. And it felt like a way to raise my profile to where it used to be. And to be, again, kind of acknowledged as expert in the field kind of thing. Because the blog, while it's still effective, didn't have the same impact that it used to. So in the why too, there was some letting go of how I measured everything in the past. Like before it was all about, okay, I can measure why the blog's effective because of the people who subscribe to stuff, who buy things from me as a result of reading my blog. That's so much harder with short form videos. So I had to let go of that too. It's like, I don't care how many people watch my video. Like I'm not trying to go viral, which is pretty obvious, I think, if you watch my videos. I just want to make an emotional connection with people who, need help in these areas I'm going to talk about. So, kind of letting go of kind of the measurement side of it. And, it just became a bit of an adventure over the last year that it was a lot of fun.
Wow. That's incredible. That's so interesting because I guess because I've been watching pretty much since the beginning of that video journey, Jon, it's so interesting because I mean, I could tell that it was a little painful for you, but I wouldn't say that those first ones sucked. I mean, those first ones weren't as good as the ones are now. You're way tighter, for sure. But I wouldn't say they suck. But I guess when I say that, my view is I'm looking for content more than I'm looking for entertainment. Like I would never say I watch Jon Loomer because he entertains me. I would say I watch Jon Loomer because he educates me and he makes me smarter for what I
Right.
do, right? And I'm good with that. Like I love that. I think that's great, man. So I share that, folks. If you're listening, if you're watching here, and you're like, well, I don't know that I can do video. I promise you, you can do video that sucks 70 times
Yeah.
until you feel yourself that it's good enough for you and still get results and still turn the corner on folks. So I think that's awesome, man. So big applause to you for that, because
Thank
a
you.
lot of people will not suck. But I also think your point about the spotlight effect is super true. Most people are not looking at you. They're looking
Right.
at themselves, right? It's like, hello, I'm looking at me. Let me look at my belly. And I think that's so interesting to me that folks, that folks would do that. So good for you, man. Like really. I mean, that's applause worthy. So good work, man. Let's shift into talking about baseball, and then we'll close up with
Mhm.
some Facebook ads here.
Sure.
You coached baseball for how long?
I mean, 16 years. So ever since my oldest son was 5, uh, ever since he was 5 until my youngest son was, through his year 14, and my oldest son is, now in med school. So it was it's funny because it all started like the way it normally starts, right? It's t-ball, it's rec ball, it's little league, and it just started getting crazier and crazier every year. So that was the other thing for me at the end. I mean, those last few years with my youngest son, trying being a coach during COVID
Oh my gosh, that's got to be hard.
was insane, and like trying to do what's right for everybody and being safe, and also balancing the demands of all these parents who like this is super competitive too, and it was more competitive every year. But it's funny because I started the whole thing because of everything I learned with starting my business. So like there was a point, it's like okay, when I wanted to start a team was summer of 2015, and like okay, I need to create a brand, right, that people will connect with. So I'm going to create a website, and I'm just going to create a whole bunch of content related to youth baseball. So coaching, being a
Oh wow.
parent, strategies, all that kind of stuff. What's crazy is even though during the heyday of jonloomer.com and it exploded, there was a ton of traffic. Like that first month of this baseball website was like the biggest month I've ever had of any website. And it's just so like I built my brand there, which but it was funny is it kind of was built internationally. I really needed to build locally, but so that's how I started it, and it was the team was Spiders Elite, and so I used my marketing knowledge and expertise to kind of build this brand for my middle son at the time, and so that I kept going, from 2015 through 2022.
Wow. Wow. So you coached high level baseball. I coached T-ball
Yeah,
when the biggest thing that the kids had to learn was let's get baseball ready.
yeah,
This is
exactly.
first base, this is second base, this is third
Yeah,
base.
yeah.
So tell me about, because I mean, we both played baseball as kids, right? We both did that. So what's the biggest difference and what's the biggest similarity between high level and starting out? What do you think?
Oh, geez. I mean, there are a lot of similarities in that people are crazy regardless.
Yeah.
So parents, coaches are ridiculous either way. So I'd love to say that that only happens at the high levels, but like, I mean, I also had to change myself, my own behavior, because I was kind of crazy at first in little league too. And then I think it was with time that I realized that this stuff is all silly and it should be fun. So I mean, that's the first thing. But the difference is really the cost and the full on commitment. I mean, travel ball gets knocked because the claim is like you should never focus entirely on one sport. I think what people miss with that, and it's first of all, they don't like the kids I was coaching, they were playing multiple sports, but I think what people miss with that is like if you go to a big high school if you want to play varsity baseball, you have to play a lot of baseball. You have to,
Yeah.
like, as a kid growing up, you can't just show up as a freshman having played rec ball your entire life, on the weekends kind of thing, and expect to compete and play and make the varsity team. So, that's one of those things. That's why it's so intense, and it's very expensive, and you're traveling, and it's a commitment. I mean, we're doing practices or games during, 9, 10 months out of the year. So, um, that said, it was also fun, right? I love the part with the kids. I love the competition. I love the games. I love seeing them develop and have fun. It's like all the other drama that wasn't so great.
That's fun. That's fun. So
Yeah.
cool, man. So let's shift to Facebook ads, because I
Mhm.
think competition is what drives the price on Facebook ads, right? I mean,
Right.
that's the whole thing, because it's an auction site.
Right. It's
So
competition and inventory, I would say.
okay, so talk to me about that.
So, example would be, s- you know, competition can drive up the CPM price, right? The cost to reach people, but that also means if there's a ton of inventory, meaning people are more active, so ads can be shown more often, or Facebook, starts showing ads more frequently in certain placements, or creates new placements. Example would be Reels. All of a sudden, Reels takes off, and now people more engaged on the platform than before, spending more time there. That creates more inventory and impacts costs as well. So, like, the last couple of years, CPM costs usually skyrocket during the holidays. Like last year, I don't think they went up at all. This past year, we're still kind of waiting on the final word there, but I think they might have gone up a little bit. But yeah, competition is definitely part of it, though.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So you said reels, right? So what makes a good ad? I mean, do we have to do reels? Do we have to dance? Do we have to point at text?
You don't have to, you definitely don't have to dance and point at text and stuff.
Darn it!
If you want to, go for it. Go for it. But I think what makes a good ad is definitely evolving, but it's certainly, inspiring, creative in some way. So copy that gets you to perform the action that you want, right? Copy and creative. That could be a video. It could be image with the link. But it kind of depends on the spot you are in the funnel as well. Um, but yeah, a good ad, it's funny because a good ad doesn't necessarily mean a polished ad. Like there's this whole
Mm,
movement behind ugly ads too. Um, that stands out because it's ugly. And I think it's similar to like when talking about just creating organic content in short form video. I mean, what's more accessible? Something that is polished and looks like they spent all day editing and producing and whatnot, as opposed to something that's like me, us talking to one another
yeah.
conversationally and casually, right? So it doesn't mean that the less polished stuff always works better, but it's a matter of like, don't feel like you have to create a commercial though either. I mean, commercials usually, when it comes to ads, usually aren't as impactful as something that makes an emotional connection.
Okay. That's good. So I guess that's encouraging. So how do we how do we make an emotional connection though, John? I think that's something that's really hard for folks to understand. Is there a it, I'm maybe I'm asking the wrong question here, but is there a template or is there a
Hmm.
formula or anything like that that helps people do that? Because I mean, I hear that it's like say, I add value. Well, that's in the eye of the audience, right? The
Right.
audience is that the same way with emotional connection or what?
I think so. Like the templates and the hacks and like all that's the shortcuts make me cringe. Just those kind of words, because we talked about this a little bit. When we talk about hooks, for example, in videos.
Yeah,
Like the number of times I've heard someone say this hack should be illegal, or Apple doesn't want you to know about this hack. Like those things are inspire emotion, but they're also super annoying because you've heard a million other video people use that
Yeah.
same kind of line, right? So there's a matter of is it impactful? Does it inspire emotion and action? But I truly don't believe that the template of what's the hook that guy used for his video that went viral. I want to use that one too. I'm just totally against that approach, right or wrong. But I think how you make that emotional connection is up to you. Actually, I think I just put out a video on selling your story and not just your product. So I think we get lost in, for example, what does my product do, or what is my service, as opposed to making that emotional connection. It could be telling your story, selling your story is related to your product and service, but it could also be, what's the pain point, what's the problem that we're trying to solve. Our target customer, how are they feeling about this thing that's frustrating them, and why? What's their situation? So it's kind of tapping into any and all of those things to make that an emotional connection. What's funny is, like, with short form video, organic content, so much of it is just natural that you're making an emotional connection, because it's like just speaking to a camera. People get to know you. I mean, I can't even tell you the number of times people, like, they'll hop on a one-on-one with me or something, and they'll say, I feel like I already know you, because, like, there's nothing manipulative or strategic about what I'm saying in my videos to, like, make this emotional connection. And a lot of times it's just like, I'm just telling you stuff that I think and I feel and I see, and that's it. And so it doesn't have to be more complicated than that.
Yeah, I think familiarity is certainly a great way to emotionally connect with people,
Yeah.
but like to your point, let's do 70 videos.
Yeah.
Well, by the 70th, if somebody's seen 10 or 12 of them, they feel like they know you, right? And what's
Right.
funny is it's only 12 minutes, right? That's only 10 minutes, but yet they watch that video and they see you smile, or they see you cringe, or oh, hey, that's a new hat for John. I haven't seen that hat. If no, I mean, if you wear the
Yeah.
same one, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think about Brian Fanzo, right? Fanzo has always got his hat on
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah.
If Brian, sometimes he will wear he might wear I saw a picture of him the other day where he had a Penguins hat on instead of a Steelers hat. I've never seen him in a Penguins hat.
Yeah.
And, like, I know
Yeah.
Brian somewhat, right? But I don't
Mm.
know him that well. And I'm like, oh, Brian's got a new hat. And he probably had that hat 100 years ago. So
Right.
that's interesting, right? That familiarity can help us build that. So what are some frequent mistakes that people might make with Facebook ads, John, and how might they overcome them?
Oh
Just maybe
man,
2 or 3.
lots of them. I think the first is thinking that ad driven traffic and engagement is the same as organic, and you should expect the same behavior from them down the funnel that you see organically. So, what I mean by that is, you've got a landing page, and you've seen that you get 10% of people who visit that page organically convert. So you're thinking, how can I outsmart the algorithm here and get really cheap ads and really cheap conversions? I'm going to optimize for link clicks and landing page views, because if I send 1,000 people to that page and I can get that 1,000 people there really cheaply, 10% of them are going to convert.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great, huh?
That would be great. It doesn't work that way, right? So the thing to understand with ads when it comes to optimization is that the algorithm is super literal. And what I mean by that is, I want link clicks. I tell Meta I want link clicks. It's going to send you a whole bunch of link clicks. Meta doesn't care what those people do after that. I think some people see
Oh,
that as being misleading and corrupt or whatever. The truth is, there are weaknesses, and some people just click everything, right? They just do. There might be bots out there that Meta hasn't detected yet. There might be click fraud that Meta hasn't detected yet. There's accidental clicks on certain placements that happen. And then some people click on those and they go to your website and they don't convert. And you're like, what's going on here? And then you're blaming Meta for doing that. Like, well, no, they gave you the thing that you asked for. if you wanted the conversion, you should have told Meta you wanted the conversion, and then that's how Meta would measure whether or not this was successful.
Ooh.
So I think, and it's super. The algorithm is super smart. So if you are specific, if you decide I want purchases, and you tell the algorithm that you want purchases, that's how it adjusts on the fly in terms of where your ads get shown and to which people and all that stuff, with the end goal of getting you as many of those conversions as possible. So the optimization, I think, is a big part of it. What we're seeing today is also, and this hurts me to say it because I was one of these people, back in the day. I loved doing all the micro targeting and the segmenting audiences, finding which audiences are going to work best and whatnot. That's a big one now where I think you're wasting your time and you're honestly probably driving up your costs. Because what happens is these days, well, first of all, Meta's removed all sorts of interests over the last few years
Yeah.
due to privacy and whatnot. There is a matter of how complete are some of these audiences now compared to back in the day because of all this focus on privacy. That's only part of it, though. Big part of it is Meta moving to expand your targeting, right? So if you optimize for any type of conversion and you say, oh, I've got this great interest that it is for digital marketers. I'm going to use the digital marketers interest. Target those people. What most people don't seem to realize is when you do that, it starts with that group and then expands the audience beyond there. So it's like if it can find people who are going to perform that action that you want, who aren't in that group, and it'll improve your results. It'll do that, which should be good, right? But the problem is we don't really know how much it expands or when it expands, whatnot. So we get so many advertisers who think that I got these results because of that interest I used. We don't really know that. It could have been from the expansion. You could have gotten 70% of your conversions from the expansion for all we know. We don't know. So it's not that your inputs mean nothing. I'm not saying we should all just go broad. I mean, that is a movement right now where you just go broad and remove all targeting inputs. That's not what I'm saying. I think a lot of advertisers are putting too much value in the inputs they're providing. Like it's on them, and like they'll create 5 different ad sets of cold audience with different interests and lookalikes and stuff, the stuff that we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
But if they're all expanding, then those inputs are just less impactful. They're less important. So I think we're driving up our costs by doing that. Consolidate. Like, feel free to use interests and lookalikes and things like that. But if it's going to, expand anyway, just use the one ad set for the cold stuff. So I think it's a big one that I've had to embrace and come around to. It's taking me some time. But there are a lot of advertisers who still struggle with that now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That sounds even confusing to me, which is why we probably need an expert like you to help us out, right? Your courses, because you're always up to date, right?
Yeah.
You're always experimenting and doing stuff. So with that, the next year is I'm calling it winter because we're seeing a lot of political ads. But we're going to see even more. I mean, we're going to get pummeled here. So how do we stay ahead of that, or can we stay ahead of that as an advertiser and as a consumer of ads, right? So even if people aren't wanting to see those, I mean, can they block those? Can they say they're not interested? I mean, what do they do if they get a bunch of those? And how can advertisers, folks like me, still do some good?
Yeah, I mean, as consumers, there's those 3 dots in the corner where you click that and you can say, see less of this, or
Yeah, something.
you can exit out so you don't see that anymore and whatnot. But you may want to. I mean, it's going to be interesting. What we don't really know, I don't think at this point, is what Meta's approach to political advertising will be for next summer and fall. They've definitely adjusted what's allowable during the last 4 to 6 years, It's politics, social issues is that's a special ad category. So it impacts how you can target and really what you can do. You have to have some transparency as far as who's paying for the ad and that kind of thing. It was a bit of a wild west, not long ago where, yeah, there were some bad actors who used advertising and other things to manipulate elections. So now at least there needs to be a little bit of transparency there. I read something recently that they're still not doing any kind of fact checking, which is kind of ridiculous. But I also understand it's a whole can of worms too. So, yeah, as an advertiser, uh, I I don't know if it's going to impact you unless you're running, political ads, right? Political ads are going to be more awareness based than they used to be. I mean, I can even tell you, I had helped my wife do some stuff. She was working with school board and whatnot. And over the last couple of years, the ability to target changed there. You used to be able to target people based on political affiliation. You can't even do that now. So it's going to be more of a broad targeting. Um, and what's interesting there is, what Meta sees as good engagement will be any engagement. So people who hate comment on posts and things like that will probably be shown to more people like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. I'm not really looking forward to that.
Yeah. No, I'm not either, for sure. Wow. So, so interesting stuff. So John, as we wrap up here, what do you read to stay on top of this stuff? If you were going to tell somebody, obviously they should go to jonloomer.com and keep up with your stuff. I mean, really, you've got a lot of great stuff, man. You do a lot of great videos. You do a lot of helpful stuff. I read and consume a lot of your stuff. Um, but what else? What else should people check out?
I mean, look, not to be that guy, but yeah, that's kind of what you do. Because my website has everything that I'm doing. It's the daily videos. It's my 2 blog posts per week. I stay on top of it by subscribing. Like I have a Feedly that includes all the official Meta blogs for Meta for Business and Meta developers and things like that. Um, but also like TechCrunch when they talk about Meta, social media today, which is amazing. Andrew over there is a freaking machine
Yeah.
as far as how much he writes. Um, and honestly, a lot of it's just hands-on stuff. So, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing in my community, questions that we're getting, that you know contributes to so much of my content. Not just the breaking news, but what the questions are that people have. What are the new features that people are stumbling on, or what am I stumbling on?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I think jonloomer.com is an awesome resource, man. And the fact that you stay on top of it for us, I would agree. I think you're a good single source for that. So with that, where are you spending most of your time? If people want to kind of interact with you, not just consume you, where would that be? Are you on Threads the most, or Instagram, or Facebook, or are you hiding out on TikTok, or what's going on, John?
I mean, I am everywhere, but absolutely Threads. Threads, and I think you probably agree. I have this unique relationship with in that it kind of feels like I know people have said the early days of Twitter. I never really had the emotional connection to Twitter. I I re, it reminds me of the early days of Facebook where I would just like share random stuff that just stream of consciousness things that maybe is oversharing and I shouldn't share kind of stuff that I'm not sharing on Facebook or Instagram or anything else. So I really love Threads. That's where I'm spending the most of my time. That's where you get more of like a I don't know, human side that's not look, don't
Not just
necessarily
Facebook, not just
yeah,
Meta. Yeah.
don't necessarily follow me on Threads because you want to learn all about Meta advertising because truthfully, I have not shared a ton about that stuff there. But there's a lot of business stuff. I do talk about Meta ads some. It's kind of random. I think like as Threads becomes more of like once there's an API and it just I can see myself going more down a very straight path in Threads, but right now I'm very random, which to me is fun. And so if you want to connect in that way, that's a good place.
Cool. Yeah, at Jon Loomer on threads.net. If you're a threads person, you can just consume. I love your humanity there, John. I actually get as much from that as I do from just your ads. We interact all the time, which I certainly love.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Well, good stuff. Any last words that you want to give people? Any last bit of advice, or you want to connect baseball to Facebook for us one more time?
Oh man. Don't bunt. Don't bunt in baseball, don't bunt in life. It's not that it's, I'm not saying you shouldn't do little things and sacrifice and whatnot. I'm a very anti-bunt person. Swing for the fences. Go all in on whatever you're doing, fully commit. And I mean, I think that it's something that you can apply to just anything in life.
Yeah, get insanely committed. That's
Yeah.
right. Cool. Good stuff. Well, thanks.